Hello everyone, welcome to the Red Room. Today we're going to show you the insides of expanded Wretched, or the expanded Wretched insides.
Yeah, someone told me that I had forgotten to do a large overview. And that's true. So we showed the book and we talked about it, but we didn't show it in the inside and all the details. And some people will probably would like to take a look at it before buying. So let's start by.
Let me just say, if you think we should show more of one of the books that we forgot to show, or you want us to talk about a specific thing, just ask Miguel. I'm not gonna say ask us, ask you.
Yeah.
You're the boss.
Okay, so let's start by the cover. I think am I sharing this now?
Yes, you are sharing.
Okay.
I like it, but there's no Waldo there, and there's also no Dick, right? Someone made
I
a
don't know,
joke.
maybe
The
it
giant
depends.
Dick
It
somewhere.
depends on who is Waldo in this case. So this is a J Tanaka cover, and it's different from the other one, of course, because this is expanded Ratchet, not the regular Ratchet, and this means this book is not exactly the same thing. No, it's the same game, same rules, but not the same, exactly the same book, because this is expanded. Okay, let's go into the contents. This is the first cover, of course. The introduction is the same thing, so we haven't changed anything here.
No need.
The character creation, still the same thing, but you can look at the images, and
Now the virtues were the virtues already in the second?
they were already in, yeah.
Because you added, they weren't in the beginning,
Yes,
right?
there were several versions in Wretched, and the last version, latest version, was already, well, the new version is a lot like this because I use the same layout, the same file, so it's not really different now. If you compare now expanded Wretched with the latest version for Wretched, you will find similarities because it's the same.
But
The
this
same
has
file.
more context. This is still
But
expanded.
if you bought the first version in paper and you have your paper book there and you compare to this, you'll see that it is different. The images are not the same, and the layout is not exactly the same thing. I've made changes. But up to this part here, the changes were just about layout and images. Now, this is the first thing that we added, the alternatives to alignment. These were things that were added to Wretched in the setting books. So you have first the Fantasy worldview that comes from Wretched Epoch. This includes rationalism versus mysticism, which is something from the time. You can be a rationalist character, science-minded person, or a mystic, member of a cult society or something like that. And there's also a pragmatism versus spiritualism axis, just to make it a little bit more different. The other worldviews, well, not all the worldviews have more than one axis. Then we have some explanations for this, and the boons and banes, which aren't exactly the same as in the virtues and vices, but they are kind of similar. Then you have the interworld worldview, which is transcendence versus disillusionment. Disillusionment. This is a tough word. Disillusionment. Okay, you are disillusioned or transcendent, which is about the First World War. So it's the interwar is after the First World War. So this worldview has to do with what happens after the war, not just the post-war, but other things that happens. For example, the Great Depression and all the steps towards Second World War. So you have also indulgence versus restraint. This is more like this is applied perhaps more like for European countries, perhaps.
Weimar Republic.
also for America as well.
Weimar Republic a bit.
Yeah, the Roaring Twenties. Yeah, this is
the
more
Roaring Twenties in general, yes.
but yeah, it's also the Roaring Twenties. But yeah, in Germany, the thing went overboard. Okay, so you have also the path of the tainted and the virtuous, which is from Wretched Darkness, and this is more well, it's closer to virtues and vices because this is like if you sin, but it's not really exactly about sins. It's more about choosing the dark side or the light side, not in Jedi terms, but in moral, real world, in a moral, real world way.
Mhm.
And that's it. So there are more worldviews. There will be more, but we included just the ones that exist for now. Backgrounds, origins, and life paths. Okay, this is very similar to the original, but the life paths were expanded as well because
For the new settings.
yeah, the new setting books that came out after Epoch and Country. So we had Interbellum and Sand Cove, Vice, Days of Lead,
Lev,
and Shambara.
Agents of Wretched and Shambara.
Yes. So meanwhile, there will be more, and there were already some changes, but this includes these ones, the most important ones, I could say. Even I think I haven't included the Hollywood
No.
the Hollywood thing. Yeah, I didn't. Well, pseudo Hollywood.
Cannot believe it's not Hollywood.
Yeah. Okay, attributes, they are the same, even though there are some changes here as well, corrections and all that. But besides some small, very small changes in typos that were corrected. And
Races are the same, right? Because we didn't invent new races.
I didn't add anything to this part of the book. Occupation and archetypes, well, the basic ones are the same. The only difference here is images and the way the text is oriented and organized. But after this, you will find news. Let's get to that part, which is the expanded archetypes. So they are divided the same way by occupation. So you start by assassin, and you find all the assassin archetypes that were added in different game settings. So you have the assassin or assassin from Wretched Bastards. Then you have common citizen, which has several options coming from space and orbital decay and other things. So you have mostly space related in this page. So, but not only, because Wretched Country also included some additional ones. And then you have Conjurer and also different things from different games. So in this case, 2 options that are added. And Investigator. Investigator has quite a few, especially from Interbellum and Darkness, which included agents.
Well, I think the good
reporters
thing
and
from the expanded archetypes is that people can mix match them to different, because you can
Yeah.
set some that are in a game in another setting. So that way,
Yeah, there are even in the real world those several games that we have that are in current days, or not necessarily current days, but in the 70s or the 80s or the 90s or just now. You can use from different games. Now, Knight of Sidonia is a occupation slash archetype, which came from Wretched Space, and it's here as well. And this one has more details because there's several things there. Okay, Man of Action has also a bunch of new archetypes. Performer as well. Pilot not so much. Psionic, basically this is not really different. Well, it's kind of different because it comes from New Flash, so it has more details, which is the four styles of psychic in New Flash.
And then you have the psychic that is
the actual psychic. Rosella doesn't have many options. Rogue has a few more from different game settings as well. Scholar, the same thing. I don't think there were any archetypes in Scholar for Scholar in the first version of Wretched. Now you have a bunch of those, which includes some that are factions and characters from character types from like the Traveler Society and the Arachnid Brotherhood. Okay, this is a different rule, an alternative rule for character progression that isn't quite the same as in the basic rules. This is something that I'm going to use for the new game, but we're not going to talk a lot about that now, but I'm going to use something like this, like skill points and attribute points that you can use instead of levels. So this is an alternative for leveling up. Okay, skills are the same. They aren't. They were modified. Perhaps a typo or two that were corrected, but besides that, the skills are the same. But there is a revised skill list, and this is also the for the new game, which will be darker. I'm going to use this one. So it's a smaller skill list. Instead of all those options, you have animal handling, art, end-to-end combat, which includes different stuff, influence, which includes different kinds of stuff. You have below influence, you have persuade, negotiate, intimidate. Investigation is the same thing. Knowledge is a different kind of thing, so it includes humanities, social sciences, and natural sciences. Linguistic proficiency is a skill. It replaces native language and which is a basic skill, and other languages. Medicine is medicine. It's the same thing. So melee combat also the same. Occult is already existed. Okay, so basically this is groups of skills that were included in just one. Perks and drawbacks is also the same thing. No changes here. These are the superhuman. They were already included. Well, I think I expanded the list in comparison with Wretched. Okay, equipment is, I believe, exactly the same thing. It's already equipment for different different timelines and different settings, like armors and the melee weapons, and also
we already had New Flash and Epoch there and the Bastard, so you don't really need to change a lot to add things that are historical between that period. It's just easy to adjust. It doesn't make sense to put things there just to put more things.
If I'm not mistaken, I had already included wear and tear as well, even though wear and tear is from orbital decay, I think. Yeah, and I think it was added later, but I think it was already in the last time I added stuff to Wretched RPG. Well, anyway, it's included here as well. The basic experience is the same thing, but there is an alternative rule, which is simplified experience, which I'll probably use as well for the new game as a replacement for the other one, because it turns awarding experience points a much simpler thing. Okay, wanted level in notoriety is also something that has existed for a long time. Optional wretchedness, it's not exactly the same thing. There were something that more health points were included by request. For someone told me that the health points in the new Wretched were kind of very little, so I included the old option from the original Wretched. Exploding damage and ice were all already included, even though this is kind of recent, but it was already included in Wretched, in the Wretched basic book. Okay, so combat is exactly the same thing. I didn't change any of the combat rules. So you have all the options, the same things. Oh, actually, there were some small changes for the critical hits. So I divided the types of critical hits here. So you have natural 20 critical hits. This is when you roll a natural 20. And it is a critical hit, obviously. So you will roll a random critical hit because it wasn't assuming that it wasn't aimed at a specific body part. So you roll here, and whatever comes in this list here, it depends. So it will be, so you can get a broken jaw or a cracked rib. So this is only possible if you didn't aim. So it's only for critical hits that were rolled by an unnamed shot or any kind of hit. Could be melee or unarmed combat. Now, if you did aimed if you did do a call shot, then in that case you don't have to roll anything. You'll just check these tables here and find what did you shoot. So if you shot the head, or if you punched someone in the head, or if you punched someone in the foot, no, not really, but if you kicked someone in the foot or something like that. So these were the options. Now, damage and healing. There are some extra things here because they were added from other games. So you have not really this part here, but the last part, this one here, where let's see, Nanite Psychosis and Phage Rot, all these weren't in the book in the first version, so they were added later. Vehicle combat is more or less the same, but there are some new things, which are I think this vehicle chases. There were some things that were included later, so they were I added them to this place here. Ship combats and all that. This was added later, so it's now part. Battlefield combat is a recent thing. It didn't exist in the original Wretched. I didn't come up with this. This was a new thing that was introduced in Wretched Shambara by Olivier. I adapted it. So you have the original, which is from Shambara for fantasy games, but there's also Battlefield combat for modern games, and this one is kind of, well, it's new, but it's inspired by the other one, so it's more or less the same, but with some more details. So I added this part here, which includes steps like in regular combat, and some optional rules for more detailed Battlefield combat, which includes and the first part is just rolling for events. That was what was introduced in Shambara. You roll on a table, but then I added something a little bit different, which is an adaptation of normal combat, but for group combat, in which you do rolls for the commander modified by the units you have fighting for you, and morale, actions that were made. So there are different conditions that will modify the rule for leadership, and that will affect the overall decision of group combat, large groups combat. Then settlement and domain management, or settlement management was already included in the first version in Wretched RPG. Domain was something recent that was added. It's not a big part of this chapter, but adds some more information, some options. City generator, I'm not sure if this was, I don't
I
think
don't think it was.
no, it was a, yeah, this was released as a Wretched verse a while ago. Free Wretched verse, I think. I've used it several times in different games, not exactly the same thing, but the city creation has been used for those Wretched settings that have cities. So you have Emmettville, you have Emmettville is in Vigilantes and Darkness, and then you have Chitafera in Days of Lead, and you have Stein something. I can't remember them. Stein what?
But you're going to be there later today.
Yes, we'll be let.
Steinsgraad now.
What?
Steinsgraad no. Steinsgraad no.
Stein? No, I don't think so. Well, anyway, Stein something. That's the agents of Red City, and then there's Sand Cove, which is from Vice. So these city creation rules here are for are generic, so you can create any kind of city from different timelines and different time periods. So you have it also can be used for space.
Mhm.
So it has some examples. So you have a wretched bastard city, a wretched country city, etc., etc. So neighborhoods, which is a smaller scale version of the other rules. This is a way to change characteristics in the city. So this was specially developed for Vigilantes, which is a game where you're playing heroes or vigilantes, and they are doing stuff against the bad guys, and they are trying to increase safety levels or maybe other things. So it could be also used in a cyberpunk style campaign or other stuff. It depends on the way you want to play it. But so these rules are meant for people who are playing characters who want to change some, or at least they might not even want to do it, but who are trying to do some changes in the cities for better or for worse, depending, and their actions will increase some of the levels and decrease other attributes. So these are attributes like people have, like characters have. You have economic prosperity, you have security level, you have community morale, education quality, average income, public facilities, infrastructure quality, and cultural vibrancy. There are a couple of examples here. So and then there are rules for how they change. Sometimes one action will make one of those things go up and another go down, and all like that. So will have it might also be influenced by factions, not just characters, and by what the factions are doing. So you have lots of information here for doing stuff, and also a faction generation rules. This is to create factions for your cities, and it can be used also for different kinds of games. And
yeah, if you want to have gangs, they can be not just in cyberpunk, but in any kind of.
Now, hacking rules, which were introduced later, so they weren't in the original game. Well, there was a hacking skill, but there were no detailed rules. These aren't quite detailed, just about 5 pages of options. Not to make it terribly complicated, just but to have some kind of hacking rules. Carousing has some more details, some more options, so that the different tables that you roll, instead of just one thing, you have drinking, socializing, whoring. That's problematic, and gambling, and that's it. Adversaries. The first version only had these tables to create generic beasts. Now our signature creatures and some others are included here. So you have You have some of the races from space, and you have some of the creatures like the Darklev, and that's it. So a few examples of creatures. This is Fear and Sanity. It's not exactly the same thing because it includes the expanded rules for Fear and Insanity that were introduced in Darkness, Wretched Darkness. So you have more pages because this is Wretched, and we've always given lots of importance to horror and the way people. Sorry.
Trauma, sorry.
Yes, and trauma.
Trauma. We
So
like traumatizing people.
Yeah, this is the kind of game you should be traumatizing, not necessarily the players, but the characters. The players aren't supposed to be traumatized, at least if they are adult. And now the magic rules. The magic rules are, well, the rules are the same. The ritual list is the same, but there's something that was added after this. Let's get there. Yeah, the shaman rituals. Well, no, not the shaman rituals, not those, but the spiritual spirit. What's it called? Spirit channeling. Spirit channeling wasn't in the original, so this is a slightly different way of handling shamanic magic. There's a ritualistic. That one was already in the book, but this one is not ritualistic magic. So if you are playing something different, you can use this here. This could be used specifically for space if you want to have some races that are like native tribes in
Yeah, like you can have indigenous.
Or if you are playing Wretched Country and you don't want to have Western magic, just spiritual magic from the native tribes, you can use that version of the shamanic rules. The psychic rules are also modified. No, they aren't modified. These ones are the same, but we included something here, the following, which is the equivalent to psychic rules, but for the Aditans, which are featured specifically in 2 games, at least with a more importance. The bastards, they are dead, but they were there and they were important, and in space, obviously, they are there. And then you have another version of psychic rules, which is attunement. Attunement is just for the Knights of Sidonia. So if you have Knights of Sidonia in your game, this is a faction that is psychic. Well, not necessarily all of the characters can have to be psychic, but it's if you are a Knight of Sidonia, you will be psychic. So they could use the common rules for psychic powers, but I decided to change it a little bit. So you have here. They are inspired by the other ones, but they aren't exactly the same thing. Then there's this final chapter here, editor's note, which is, well, the editor is Chris Cotgrove. He wrote here a few pages about Wretched and what happened in Wretched and the evolution of the rules and the settings and all that. And finally, this is something that was mentioned by at least Green Jim. I don't know if someone else is when he reviewed the core book, he said that it should have some tables at the end with a
yeah, and it makes sense. It can help
a reference for
running a game.
So I've added this here, and it includes and also a glossary for terms that we changed, some like for example avoidance rules, which is something that doesn't exist in OSR games. They are called saves or saving throws. So if you are looking for those terms that we changed or added, or else, for example, instead of hit points. So the glossary here might make that easy. And this is the ending of this. There's also a page here with the description of the different Wretched verse settings, which is obviously incomplete as far as so it's after 1 month it will be incomplete because we finished with Shambara, but now there's something new coming. That's life. That's how things work here. We are always adding stuff.
Reverse expense.
You can stop sharing. Wretched Armageddon is coming, but it's not really a big deal because Wretched Armageddon is mostly a new version of Interbellum, almost like in terms of rules, it doesn't have that much. Wretched Armageddon will be more like a campaign setting than a Wretched setting in the more well, like Country, for example, or Interbellum. It's a different kind of thing. So it's more like it's more restricted.
It's a timing because it's a point in time.
Yeah, it's a point in time. It's specifically targeted to this war. Not that you cannot do something else, but it was meant for the war. So, but Volume 2 will be a different thing. That will be like New Flashers or any other one of those. So that's something that we can already say. If you buy Wretched Volume 1, I will give you a discount for buying Wretched Volume 2 because some of the information will be repeated. But if you're going to buy it in digital format, be aware of that. You can buy it and not think about, well, but will this be repeated? Yes, it will. But if you
there
buy
will be some repetitions, right? Because the first volume will be the war.
Yeah.
So it's a weird war, but the second will still have parts of it because it's a continuation of the war, but more.
Yeah. So if you might not be interested in playing the war, and then in that case, never mind that one.
You may just want to be interested in playing the war, so maybe just want the first one and don't want the second one.
Yeah, because I that's what decision I made, because I think that the war in this case, the World War II has to have a space in Wretched. That wasn't the point. That's not what I was going to do. I was going to do a post-war game, and that will be made. Well, not a game setting, and that will be done later. But I decided that there should be.
You couldn't do it without mentioning the war.
Yeah, you have to mention the war.
Part of the war. So
that's why in the second book we will mention the war. Yes.
And to avoid having a really big book, because that way you expanded the war a little bit more.
It would have to be a very large book. So in this case, I will do a summary of the war because obviously that will be important. The seals, which are broken and which will determine what happens next. So all that has to be mentioned. And then there will be the aftermath, what happens after the war, and that's something that will be. Well, I'm not going to expand that because I'm not even starting it right now. Next thing after I finish the layout will be darker, which will not be Wretched, even though it will include some of the Wretched lore, at least inspired by, and the rules will be inspired by the Wretched rules, but simplified, making use of some of those things that we mentioned before that are already in expanded. I had in my mind already the idea of doing I wasn't planning to use it for darker, but I was thinking about it, doing a simplified version of Wretched without levels. So not quite OSR, just perhaps compatible, but not quite OSR. And then I decided to apply it right now, and because I'm certain that these rules will not be just for darker; they will be used for other stuff. Very likely for a new version of New Flash, which would be the third version of New Flash, and no one, of course, but that's a possibility because I think those are the games that are probably more.
And I have an idea for, well, a game or a game setting, which I'm not going to mention, but that probably is going to use the simplified rules.
Yeah, so it's possible that in the future...
That could even be a game by itself, right? That my idea could be probably.
Yeah, well, this is not a new
game. You know what idea is, right? Yes.
Yeah, this is not a new game line. So the game line is Wretched.
Yes.
But that it's possible that we'll do other games, and Darker will be another game, not just a spin-off,
Like
but
Man that we published but didn't write, it was not Wretched. Then you did a
yeah,
Wretched, but it's a game by itself. Yeah.
yeah, it will include rules. Even if you use the same rules from Darker for another game, well, it will never be the same rules exactly, but they
No,
might
you
be
have to
close, yeah,
yeah.
adapted, but close to those. But that will not be a second game line. It will be a different thing. So Darker will be, oh, okay, Darker will be the game line if it turns out to be a game line. For now, it will be a game. And then if another game comes and we decide to use the new rules for that, it will be another game line. So we are not trying to create a new alternative to Wretched that will be also
No, we're not
a
going to, and you're
universe,
not going to
because
put
I don't
everything
have
in the
time for
new,
that.
and you're not
Yeah,
going to put everything in the new rules again, because
exactly. No,
please
no,
no.
no, no, no,
Don't
no.
worry, we're not going to do that.
No, you're not going to do that. At most, New Flash might be adapted, but I'm not really sure about that. That's a possibility. I don't know. Maybe. Anyway, just to make it true, make it clear. And Darker will be a different game, even though I'm going to use some things, some ideas, because those ideas were I can't avoid using them. They were already in my mind when I started Wretched, and so I apply them for Wretched Darkness. I still need them, but it will be a different game. Definitely, it will be a different game, including because it will be a current day game and not in the 90s. So just because of that concept, to make it a different game. And I already have some ideas. I'm not going to talk about them, but yeah.
So let's stop this video before we start talking about
Yeah, too much.
things that we
Okay,
shouldn't
so
do.
I didn't let I didn't let myself talk too much about the rules, but if you pause and you look at the screens, because I was showing all the pages, if you pause and you look at it, you can take a look and see what's in there. So I just did an overview.
Yeah, 'cause there's no
That's
point
it.
of reading what is written there.
Yeah, it would take too much time. But if you want to, I'm sure that you can. Most of the pages you can just pause it and take a look at it if you want to check out how it works. Other than that, well, like Expanded is not free, unlike Wretched. So if you just want the basic version, you can go to our store and pick it up. And oh, by the way, I haven't mentioned this before, but I'm going to mention it now. A while ago, there was someone that went to the store and took the free version and complained about the way it is there. So you have to buy it, though it's free. You have to buy it, and for when you are buying it, you have to add it to your
Cards.
exactly to your cart and do the same procedure. Just don't pay it. And that person was telling me, oh, that's people don't like that, and so you should have a download section. Well, that's yes,
Yeah, but
I understand that
we are
part.
giving it for free. So
Yeah, so I'll
if you
decide
don't want to do the
how I'm
effort,
going to. Yeah.
then
But it's not just that. I mean, it's a 400 pages book. It's not a
yeah,
5 page book. So this is the kind of thing that. And if you are doing if you are picking it up at drive-through, you'd have to have an account, and you have
But
to
that's drive-through.
give them
Drive-through
your
is
real
special.
name, your real address, and your real mail address. Now, the guy complained about another thing because there's a space there to put your email address, and it says optional. And it says, it's optional, but you have to put something there. Yeah, well, okay. The thing is, you can come up with a fake address. That's what he did. So he didn't want to give his own address. So it's optional in that way. You don't have to use your real address, your real email. Well, you don't have to use your address, your physical one, and you don't have to put there your real email address because you will not going to get your link from there. You can just download it immediately. So that's what you have to do if you are not putting there your real address. But he was like he was telling that I wanted to get the people's addresses or something like that. No, not really, because if you don't click on the mailing list button, you will not be subscribing automatically. So I don't give a fuck about your email address. I'm not using it. If you
Going
subscribe,
to
yes,
tell it to someone to.
I'm not going to pick the addresses just to email you. I don't care about that. If you subscribe, you will get the mailing list. And I would like you to do that because that's the way I can reach people. But yeah. Well, anyway, that was just an explanation because if someone else thinks that that's not good, well, just don't download it. There's another way you can get stuff for free. Piracy. They have everything we have on our store for free. If you want to get them for free and without creating an account, you can go to the OSR Trove. We are there. I would rather you buy things because we need money. It's something that's indispensable to pay bills and to buy food. But if you really don't want to support us, well, piracy has everything we have. If it's still there, I'm assuming that USR Trove is still there. I haven't been checking it out, but I think it still exists. Well, I haven't checked it out because it's a little bit bothersome to get there. They are always changing the codes and all that, so kind of annoying. And sometimes, yeah, and I forgot what where was I supposed to get them. So, well, anyway, you can find them. If you are persistent, you will find them. Okay, this is what we had to say about expanded Wretched and something else, not just that, because we never shut up. Okay, enough. Have a
Well, I
nice.
didn't talk a lot this time because these are
No.
rules, so
Yeah.
you must be tired. So bye bye.
Bye bye.